Hello everyone! In today's video, I'll be showing you how I made these pink gradient nails. I always get asked how I do my gradients, so today I'll be sharing some tips and tricks on how to make the perfect gradient. Since I'll be doing an all pink gradient, I've started by painting all of my nails with the lightest shade of pink. This coat doesn't have to be perfect because most of it will be covered up by the actual gradient anyway. If you're doing a gradient using colors from different color families, like a sunset gradient for example, you should paint your nails white rather than the lightest shade in order to make the colors pop. After you've painted all of your nails, let them dry completely before moving on. I usually like to apply liquid latex while I wait. For this mani, I used the Mess No More liquid latex, but I prefer using Simply Peel because it peels off much better. Anyway, I'll leave a link below to where you can get both the Mess No More and the Simply Peel. So after the liquid latex has dried, you're almost ready to start the actual gradient. But before you start painting your polish onto the sponge, you should always make sure that there are no dust particles on it. To do so, I like to use a piece of regular tape. I always stick it to the back of my hand to remove most of the tackiness before I use it on the sponge. This will prevent the tape from ripping off bits of the sponge. Once the sponge is completely dust-free, I also like to dampen the sponge a bit with some water. I find that this makes the sponge less likely to leave small pieces of itself on the nail when I dab the polish on. And now it's time to paint the polish onto the sponge. I'm using 4 different shades of pink, but you can use any colors you want. Immediately start dabbing the sponge on your first nail. Move the sponge a bit up and down and from side to side to make sure you cover the entire nail and get a good blend. If there's still some polish on the sponge, which there usually is, go ahead and dab it on another nail as well. This will not cover the nail very well, but it's a good way to make sure you use as much of the polish as possible. At this point, it seems like the sponge is all out of polish, so now I'm just reapplying the polish and continuing to dab the sponge on the rest of my nails, this time starting on my middle finger. I keep repeating this process, moving one nail to the right each time I reapply the polish until I've covered all my nails. It's important to make sure the previous coat of polish is dry before dabbing on a second layer. This shouldn't be a problem if you use this rotation kind of technique, as the previous coat will be dry by the time you reach the same nail again. For this gradient, I had to do 4 or 5 layers. The reason why I needed so many layers was that the polish I used weren't very opaque. So I recommend that you use polishes you know cover well when doing gradients. This way you would possibly only need 2 or 3 coats. If you find that the polish on the sponge begins to get dry and tacky, you can take some scissors and cut that part off. I didn't have that problem while making this gradient, so here's a clip from another video of how I cut the sponge. You might need to dampen the sponge again, as well as check for any dust particles on it before continuing with the gradient. When you're satisfied with the gradient, you can go ahead and peel off the latex barrier. As you can see here, I'm having a bit of a hard time peeling it off, which again is why I prefer Simply Peel. After I've removed the latex barrier, I always do some extra cleanup with a flat brush dipped in polish remover. Once everything is cleaned up, the polish should be dry enough to apply a fast-drying top coat. This will smoothen out the surface and blend the colors even more. And also, don't forget to cap the free edge for a longer lasting mani. And here's the final gradient, with a matte top coat of course. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful, and if you have any further questions, just ask me down in the comments. Also, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more nail art tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!